Please be seated. "4,000 Weeks." That's the title of one of the best books that I read last year. The full title is 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. It's written by Oliver Burkeman, who is a self-professed recovering productivity addict. And the premise is pretty simple, and the subtitle is, pun intended, a dead giveaway. 4,000 weeks, you see, is an average human lifespan. A little more than 76 years. Of course, not all of us get that much. Some have more. Some have much less, but no matter how long or short your life is, considering it this way in weeks really helps to focus on the fact that, to quote Burkeman, the average human lifespan is absurdly, terrifyingly, insultingly short. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Now, Burkeman admits that seeing our lives and the brevity of them in this way is like, quote, an icy blast of reality. But his argument throughout the book is that this icy blast is not a reason for unremitting despair or for living in an anxiety-fueled panic about making the most of your limited time. On the contrary, as he carefully lays out, the knowledge of our mortality and the limited amount of time that we actually do have is, quote, a cause for relief. Because, he says, you get to give up something that was always impossible. And what is that? Well, you see, he says, the day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control. When the flood of emails has been contained, when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer, when you are meeting all of your obligations at work and in your home life, when nobody is angry with you for missing a deadline or dropping the ball, when the fully optimized person you've become can turn at long last to the things life is really supposed to be about. None of this, he says, is ever going to happen. But you know what? The fact that none of that is ever going to happen, that you are never going to do all of the things or achieve everything that you dream of, that, he says, is actually very, very good news. It's good news because letting go of all of that means that you can begin to focus on what is really, actually, gloriously possible. Now, no doubt, confronting our mortality is sobering and maybe frightening and maybe even a little depressing. Burkeman writes that we naturally recoil from the notion that this is it. That this life, with all of its flaws and its inescapable vulnerability, its extreme brevity, and our limited influence over how it unfolds, this life is the only one we will get a shot at. It's painful to confront how limited our time is, because it means that tough choices are inevitable. But again, knowing that, seeing that clearly is also incredibly freeing. liberating. Yes, our choices are limited. And yes, we have to make tough choices. But we're already doing that. Just living our lives, we are always making choices about one thing or another. Isn't it better to make those choices consciously, with the knowledge that because you can't do it all, you might as well do what is actually possible and focus on what really matters the most? Freely deciding what to focus on and what to neglect, rather than making all of those choices by default. Look at all the choices presented in our gospel reading. You can give alms in secret, or you can do it with a fanfare, but not both. You can pray in secret, or where everyone can praise you for how holy you are, but not both. You can fast in secret or go out looking dismal so that everyone knows how dedicated you are, but not both. And Jesus is pretty clear that getting public accolades for our piety is seriously missing the point of all faithful practice. But that desire to have it all, to be both pious and publicly acknowledged, to get to inbox 0 and check all of the boxes on the bucket list and have a stress-free family dinner 6 nights a week, to have it all, whatever all is, whatever those choices are, the desire to have it all is deep and insidious, and I will say it again, it is never going to happen. Jesus is always encouraging us to let go of all of these unrealistic expectations and trying to get us to simply focus on what is actually possible in our lives. Sharing resources with those who need it, giving time and attention to those who are right in front of us, including God. Devoting more of our whole selves to whatever practices draws us closer to God and one another. Those things are possible, and we can have them. We can freely choose them if we let go of this fantasy of being fully optimized and having it all, of having unlimited time. Ash Wednesday is our annual reminder of our mortality. The ashes that we apply are a visual and a tactile reminder that our time here is limited. And the season of Lent is designed to be a time for reassessing, rearranging our priorities with that ultimate limitation in mind, to refocus our attention on what really matters, what ultimately matters, and what, given all of our limitations, is actually gloriously possible. Once you give up on the impossible, surrender to your limits, and understand deep down that you really can't do it all, and that no one is asking you to, once you give up on that, the question of what is actually possible, what will you actually do, what can only you do with your one wild, precious life, that question naturally emerges. And as that question becomes more and more the focus of your time and energy, that is what becomes truly life-changing. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And may you all have a holy and blessed Lent. Amen.